Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. We'll continue the same verse that we recited yesterday because we couldn't complete the discussion. This is text 61 of chapter 47, titled The Song of the Bee, Canto 10 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll just recite the verse because we did the word for word, etc. yesterday. Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam. Vrindavane kimapi gulmalataushadhinam. Yadustyajam svajanamarya patham chahitva. Bhejurmukunda padavim shrutibhirvimrigyam. Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam. Not Shyam. Shyam is Shyam Sundar Krishna. This is Syam. Okay? Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam.
Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam.
Vrindavane kimapi gulmalataushadhinam.
Vrindavane kimapi gulmalataushadhinam.
Yadustyajam svajanamarya patham chahitva.
Yadustyajam svajanamarya patham chahitva.
Bhejurmukunda padavim shrutibhirvimrigyam.
Bhejurmukunda padavim shrutibhirvimrigyam.
Please chant.
Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam.
Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam.
Vrindavane kimapi gulmalataushadhinam.
Vrindavane kimapi gulmalataushadhinam.
Yadustyajam svajanam aryapatam chahitva.
Yadustyajam svajanamarya patham chahitva.
Bhejurmukunda padavim shrutibhirvimrigyam.
Bhejurmukunda padavim shrutibhirvimrigyam.
Asamaho charanarenu jusam aham syam.
Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam.
Vrindavane kimapi gulmalataushadhinam.
Vrindavane kimapi gulmalataushadhinam.
Yadustyajam swajanam aryapatham chahitva.
Yadustyajam svajanamarya patham chahitva.
Bhejurmukunda padavim shrutibhirvimrigyam.
Bhejurmukunda padavim shrutibhirvimrigyam. Mataji's.
Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam.
Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam. Vrindavane kimapi gulmalataushadhinam.
Yadustyajam svajanamarya स्वजनमार्यपथं च हित्वा
यादुस्त्यजं स्वजनमार्यपथं च हित्वा
मुकुन्दपदवीं श्रुतिभिर्विमृग्याम्
भेजुर्मुकुन्दपदवीं श्रुतिभिर्विमृग्याम् आसामहो चरणरेणुजुषामहं स्याम् वृन्दावने किमपि कुल्मलतौषधीनाम् यादुस्त्यजं स्वजनमार्यपथं च हित्वा भेजुर्मुकुन्दपदवीं श्रुतिभिर्विमृग्याम्. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. As I mentioned, this verse also appears in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the translation is also by Srila Prabhupada. The gopis of Vrindavan have given up the association of their husbands, sons, and other family members who are very difficult to give up, and they have forsaken the path of chastity to take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, Krishna, which one should search for by Vedic knowledge. Oh, let me be fortunate enough to be one of the bushes, creepers, or herbs in Vrindavan, because the gopis trample them and bless them with the dust of their lotus feet. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uddhava Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahakanda Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahakanda Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We continue our discussion on the glories of Uddhava. Just to briefly recap what we discussed yesterday, Uddhava is a very intimate associate of Sri Krishna. He was his friend, his cousin, his counselor, and played many roles, wore many hats. Above all, he is known as a Mahabhagavata, eternal associate of Krishna. The real glories of Uddhava are revealed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and particularly in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We also hear some glorification of him and his devotion for Krishna in the 3rd canto, and we also hear in the 11th canto about how Krishna chose him to be the recipient of the message that we now know today as the Uddhava Gita. But primarily, as far as Gaudiya Vaishnavas are concerned, Uddhava's importance to us is Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshmana Hanuman ki jai. So primarily, the importance of Uddhava to us is that he was used as an instrument by Krishna to reveal the love of the Brajabasis for Krishna, and specifically the love of the gopis for Krishna, and even more specifically the love of Srimati Radharani for Krishna. So this is something very confidential, very esoteric, very deep. It is the very purpose of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent. And interestingly, the mood that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu adopted when he came to this material world and displayed pastimes is actually the exact same mood that Uddhava saw Srimati Radharani in when he met her in Vrindavan. So that's very significant also. Now yesterday, Ruben, you had a question. Can you repeat that question? It was that whether Uddhava is known as a Jnani Bhakta, so why do we consider him so exalted? Is that right?
Why? What does that actually mean?
What does that actually mean? Why is Uddhava called a Jnani Bhakta if we consider him so exalted? Well, you see, it depends. The word Jnani is used in so many different contexts, and it has so many different meanings depending on how you employ the word. So the word Jnani can also mean an impersonalist, can mean a Mayavadi. It can also mean someone who has knowledge, because the word Jnana just means knowledge. And in the Bhagavad Gita, in one context, Jnani refers to a devotee. You see, in the Chaturvidha Bhajanti Mam verse. However, we can understand the term Jnani Bhakta to mean two things. One, it could imply a devotee whose devotion is mixed with some sort of impersonalism, or perhaps a speculative tendency. But generally we would call that person as a Jnana Mishra Bhakta. We wouldn't call him a Jnani Bhakta, but some people may call him as a Jnani Bhakta. So we have to distinguish. And Uddhava was certainly not that kind of a Jnani Bhakta. Now, to understand the other meaning of the word Jnani Bhakta, I'll have to give a bit of a background. The background is that there are two kinds of pure devotions, or pure devotion. Generally, we can analyze devotion or pure devotion in many ways, as the Acharyas have done. But in this context, we can identify it, as per Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in two ways. One is that pure devotion which is imbued with a spirit of awe and reverence for the Lord. It is pure devotion, but in that devotion is the understanding or the predominant feeling of the Godhood of the Supreme Lord. So naturally, when you are so consciously aware all the time of the Lord being the Lord, your behavior towards Him and your attitude is somewhat restrained. It restricts the intimacy and the openness of the dealings between the devotee and the Lord. It is pure devotion nevertheless. And it is found primarily in Vaikuntha, where the Lord resides in His four-armed form as Vishnu or Narayana. There is another kind of pure devotion. By the way, this devotion is called Aishwarya Jnana Yukta Bhakti. Bhakti that is imbued with Aishwarya Jnana, knowledge of the Aishwarya or the opulences of Krishna, specifically of His Godhood. However, there is only one place in the entire existence where there is the other kind of pure devotion, which is Madhurya Jnana Yukta Bhakti, which means that pure devotion which is imbued with or endowed with or suffused with, overwhelmed with the knowledge of Krishna's madhurya or sweetness. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out an important thing, that we shouldn't think that in Vrindavan, where this madhurya gyan yukta bhakti predominates, that there is no Aishwarya, there is no opulence. There is tremendous opulence. In fact, there is more opulence in Vrindavan than in Vaikuntha. However, such is the overwhelming nature of the madhurya, the sweetness there. It predominates in such a powerful way over there that the opulence doesn't become so prominent, at least in the minds of the devotees, the Brajavasis. For them, they are simply preoccupied mentally. Every core of their being is suffused with this conception of the sweetness of Krishna. So therefore, they don't worry about Krishna being God. Now, do they know that he was God or he is God? Yes and no. There are times when they know. But even when they know, it doesn't bother them. But for devotees who are in intimate positions with Krishna, like the parents of Krishna in Mathura and Dwarka, let's say Devaki and Vasudeva, for them it does make a difference. When Krishna killed Kamsa, Chanura, Mushtika along with Balaram, then for some time Devaki and Vasudeva were bewildered. Oh, we considered Krishna and Balaram as our sons, but they are God. And for that short period of time, their pure Vatsalya Bhava, their feeling of parental affection for Krishna and Balaram, was eclipsed by this feeling of awe and reverence that came about because of Aishwarya Gyan, because they understood the opulence of Krishna, so that covered the intimacy of their love for Krishna. But that doesn't happen in Braja. So even if they sometimes know, it doesn't bother them. It doesn't dilute or weaken the sweetness and the intimacy of their love for Krishna. So there are these two types of love. So the first type is found in Vaikuntha, the second type is found in Vrindavan, in Braja. Now what about the places like Dwarka and Mathura? It's in between. So certainly there is Aishwarya Gyan that predominates. There is also some Madhurya there. And by the way, even in Vaikuntha there is Madhurya of some sort, because pure devotion is sweet. So naturally there is sweetness in love of the Supreme Lord. But here we are speaking in comparative terms, right? So as far as Mathura and Dwarka are concerned, there is certainly Aishwarya Gyan, there is some Madhurya there because there is intimacy, yes? But it's an in-between stage. But certainly it's the sweetness that is found in Dwarka and Mathura cannot be compared to that in Vrindavan. Now, Uddhava, as we discussed yesterday, was the chief or the best devotee of Krishna in Dwarka and Mathura. Yes? So he also has this feeling of understanding Krishna to be God. So he is Aishwarya Jnana Yukta. He is also endowed with that Aishwarya Jnana. And Krishna understood this. So he wanted Uddhava to understand the Madhurya Jnana Yukta Bhakti. Uddhava, as I mentioned yesterday, he had this feeling that he was the best devotee. We can't call it pride, as I mentioned yesterday, in the sense of the material understanding of the term, as we have it in our conditioned state. But there was that sense that, we are great devotees. We are Krishna's intimate people. We are his svajanas. We are so close to Krishna. And in fact, this is one of the reasons that worried Krishna. And he was thinking that if I depart from this world, when my mission is over, then my yadus, my family members, they are so full with the idea of them being my intimate associates and my special devotees that that kind of feeling of pride will overwhelm them, and they will just conquer the whole world and they'll create chaos everywhere. So I must wind up their activities here before I leave from here. Of course, Uddhava wasn't part of that enormous fratricidal war which happened at Prabhas Kshetra. But in any case, Krishna wanted Uddhava also to be aware that there is this exalted, super exalted state of devotion that is found only in Vrindavan. Because Uddhava wasn't that aware of it, of the glories of the love of the Brajabasis. So this was another reason why Krishna sent Uddhava there. So he wanted Uddhava to be the instrument to reveal the glories of the love of the gopis to the whole world. And he also wanted Uddhava to understand for himself what this Madhurya Gyan Yukta Bhakti was all about. Excuse me. So therefore, that is the context in which we can understand Uddhava to be a Jnani Bhakta. Okay? But we should not mistake him to be an impersonalist when we use that term. So there are many terms we should be very cautious of the context in which they are used, otherwise it's likely that we may misunderstand it. So coming back to where we left off yesterday, Uddhava has left Mathura and he has just reached Vrindavan. And what was the time at which he reached Vrindavan? What is the term? Godhuli. That's the evening time, around sunset, when the cows and the calves are returning home. A very sweet and beautiful time in Braja. Of course, a little dusty time also. But that's the dust of Braja, so it's fine. And he comes there, he is very struck by the beauty and the joy that he finds there. And the Brajabasis are all busy doing their different activities. He goes to the house of Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj is very pleasantly surprised to see him. So he welcomes him. He goes out. We've been talking so much about Atithi Devo Bhava, right? How a guest should be welcomed. So Nanda Maharaj also exemplifies. He goes out, he sees Uddhava, who is like his nephew, and he embraces him and brings him in, makes him sit on a nice comfortable seat, and then he has somebody massage his feet because he must be tired after this journey, although the journey isn't that long from Mathura to Vrindavan. He gives him all kinds of nice refreshments, he welcomes him with sweet words, etc. And once Uddhava is settled in, then he begins to question Uddhava about his friends in Mathura. My dear Uddhava, how are the Vrishnis? How is my dear friend Vasudev? And how are all our other friends there? It is so nice that now Kamsa has been killed, and now I'm sure everybody in Mathura is living in peace. And about our dear Krishna, does he still remember us? Does he remember me, his father, Nanda? Does he remember his mother, Yashoda? And all of us Gopas and Gopis who love him so much? And then he started recounting some of the pastimes of Krishna, and especially those pastimes in which he killed many powerful demons. And Nanda Maharaj is expressing his sense of wonder at how his little boy performed these extraordinary activities. And Nanda Maharaj was speaking like this. And Mother Yashoda also was there. And Shukadev Goswami describes that Mother Yashoda was also overwhelmed to hear and to remember these narrations again. And she was also crying tears of ecstasy in remembrance of Krishna. Uddhava was very touched to see this kind of devotion. And they actually passed the whole night speaking about Krishna in this way. And they did not notice the passage of time. And by the time they wound up, the sun had risen, and they could hear the sounds of the other Brajabasis getting on with their morning duties. Shukadev Goswami explains that the gopis rose early, and as soon as they had freshened up, they lit the lamps in their house, and then they performed their puja, and they went about decorating their house. That's the tradition. Every day when you get up in the morning, you have to decorate your house. You have to put some auspicious substances on your doorstep and some nice mango leaves. You don't get mango here, but anyway, whatever, something, you decorate it nicely. Make everything very auspicious early in the morning. Get on with your devotional activities and so on. And then they went on to do their churning of the yogurt into butter, and then the sounds of their bangles clanging with each other. So these sounds were to be heard early morning everywhere in Braja. The younger gopis, they came out of their homes, and then they saw this very opulent looking golden colored chariot there, and they were wondering, who has come? Whose chariot is this? Has that Akrura come back again? Perhaps he has come back. Perhaps he is not so cruel. Perhaps he has lived up to his name and come back here and brought Krishna back with him. Maybe that's what's happened. The word Akrura means one who is not krura or cruel. But the gopis said that you're not living up to your name. You came to take Krishna and Balaram away from us. Therefore, you're indeed the most cruel person. Therefore, we don't know why you got the name Akrura. So now that they saw this chariot, they were thinking, now Shukadev Goswami doesn't say that, it's just something I'm adding. So they were thinking, maybe we did some Vaishnava aparadh by calling him, Krura, but actually maybe he's lived up to his name and brought Krishna back over here. But then they realized it wasn't a Krura. And they saw this beautiful personality coming, and for a moment they thought he was Krishna. And then they realized upon proper closer examination that he wasn't. But his clothes were just like Krishna, he wore them just like Krishna, his mannerisms were like Krishna, the way he spoke, his appearance, everything was like Krishna. So the gopis were struck with wonder. And they took him aside to a solitary place. They sat him down and began to question him very eagerly. You must be a devotee of Krishna. You must be a very confidential associate and messenger of Krishna. Krishna must have sent you here with some important messages. So Uddhava was struck to see their eagerness and their devotion to hear about Krishna. The gopis began speaking. They said, it is very natural for people to be attached to their family members. So Krishna is now with his family members in Mathura. And because attachment to family is so strong, one forgets those who are not part of the family. One uses those who are not part of the family for one's own purposes. And when those purposes are fulfilled, one gives up these other people and goes back to the family. That's what Krishna has done. And we were here, we are not his family. Who are we? So Krishna came here, he lived for some time, now he's back with his family, so why should he remember us now? In the birds that come onto a tree that has fruit, they give up that tree when the fruits are gone. When a forest is on fire, the animals who lived in the forest, they give up the forest and go away. When guests come to a house, once they've had prasadam, they leave and go away. Yes? They've finished their business. They've eaten, now they've gone. They give many examples like this. So they say, similarly, Krishna has left, he is gone now. So I'm sure we are sure that there's no reason for him to remember us anymore. And who are we? We're just ordinary village folk. We are illiterate, ordinary, poor people. But in Mathura, Krishna has all these sophisticated ladies and all the other people of the royal clan. And I'm sure he must be enjoying himself with all of them there. And then they began to recount Krishna's pastimes. And they went on and on and on, the different gopis turn by turn speaking their own remembrances and realizations of Krishna. And Uddhava was again struck with wonder to see how deep their devotion was. And then one amongst them, who was that? Srimati Radharani. She began to speak. And that is the title of this chapter, chapter 47 of the 10th canto, which is the Song of the Bee. It's also called the Bhramar Geet. Bhramar means a bee in Sanskrit. And this is the Song of the Bee. Why so? We'll come to it in a few moments. But it may be noteworthy to point out here, that there are many songs in the Vedic literature. Of course, we have the Bhagavad Gita, and then we have the Uddhava Gita, to which we'll make a very short reference at the end of this talk, if time permits. Then we have this Brahmara Gita. We have the famous Venu Gita, the song of the flute in the 21st chapter of the 10th canto. We have the famous Gopi Gita. And we have many other smaller Gitas, the Aila Gita, etc., etc. So the Brahmar Gita is one of the songs of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this has been spoken by Srimati Radharani. Although Shukadev Goswami doesn't specifically mention Srimati Radharani's name, but the Acharyas have commented that it is indeed Srimati Radharani. And what happens is, of course, time does not permit us to discuss this in detail, but there is, as the gopis are talking with Uddhava, there is a bee that comes along, and the bee buzzes around and then moves around near Srimati Radharani's feet. Now Srimati Radharani is in a mood of ecstatic trance in devotion, and she begins to admonish the bee. And she alleges that he is a messenger who has been sent by Krishna to maybe spy on her, or maybe to give some message to her, maybe to pacify her and to console her. So she admonishes the bee and said, "Why have you come here? Probably Krishna has sent you here. Don't try to flatter me. Why are you bowing your head down at my feet?" Because the bee was going around his lotus feet. So she was speaking in this vein, in a different world altogether. Now, if anyone were to see Srimati Radharani speaking like this, they would not be able to understand.